We begin with a Fox News alert. President Biden pardoning his son Hunter despite previously saying he would not use the pardon power on his son. Both Democrats and Republicans criticizing the move, with one Democrat lawmaker saying Biden, quote, got this one wrong.
Flashback.
People are wondering, should Biden pardon his son, Hunter, or does that make him an even bigger target for you-know-who coming in? It's an interesting question, which I pose to you all.
Flashback.
Not only is Hunter Biden on trial, showing that no one is above the law.
No one.
President Biden has indicated if he is convicted, he will not pardon him.
No.
He will not pardon him. Well, he did pardon him. The leader of the free world, the land of the free, the land of equality, the place where everyone gets a fair shake, the leader of the free world has just pardoned his own son. And many people in the community are confused and they don't know, is it righteous? Many in the community are saying, is it righteous? And they're asking me, as a certified spiritual teacher myself, I can answer this question. And we now have, at this YouTube channel, a righteousness calculator. And if you look to my right, I think it's going to be on my right here, there is a righteousness calculator, and we'll be using it to calculate the exact numbers. You know, there's a lot of political pundits, there's a lot of gurujis on YouTube, so-called gurujis, so-called political pundits, but they don't have the numbers. Today, we're going to have the numbers. Is it righteous? Is it not? So before we get into it, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, support this digital ashram. And I got a series of clips that we're going to go through that'll explain the situation, and I'll tell you exactly, because nobody knows. Everyone's confused about this. Nobody knows. Is he righteous? Is he not? It's become like basically a very partisan story where the people on one team thinks it's good, the people on the other team think it's bad. I'll give the definitive answer of the righteousness. So let's get into it, shall we? A lot of people are saying, leave him alone. He's got a drug and prostitution problem. We're not going to judge him on that. We're not going to judge him on that. In fact, let's input it into the righteousness calculator. Drugs and alcohol, we'll put it in. Drugs and, not alcohol, drugs and prostitution. Visiting prostitutes. Let's enter just that into the calculator, and we'll see. Yeah, as you can see, like I suspected, still in the realm of love. This can be forgiven. And we should have forgiveness and compassion for people who have drug problems and prostitution problems. But that's not the full story. That is not the full story. The drugs and the prostitutes are okay. It's one thing to do drugs and prostitutes. But to cheat on your first wife and then start sleeping with your brother's widow.
Hunter began seeing Hallie Biden after his brother Beau's death from brain cancer. He was still married to his wife, Kathleen.
Getting her hooked on crack and then getting another sex worker pregnant, not paying for any child support for her, not paying child support for the first wife, and then falling in love with a fourth woman, buying a $3 million house with her in LA. This is where things get complicated. So already we shouldn't even just be considering the crack, and the prostitutes on their own. We got to consider all of that. You know what I mean? It's like if you're doing the crack and the prostitutes, pay for your kids. You know, if you paid for the kids, then it wouldn't be as big a deal. Then we could all kind of say, okay, well, you know what? He's obviously in a hard time. He's obviously having trouble. But it looks to me like he's using this as an excuse, and he's weaponizing the compassion, you could say, against us and using it to keep doing these terrible things. But I think it goes deeper than that. This is where I'm going to play a clip from this news report that talks about how his dad made it illegal to do crack in the 90s. Let's take a look at it.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. judge doesn't have a choice.
You know, the fact that he does crack too, like, just do cocaine, right? You would think just do cocaine. But I think what's happening here, it's kind of like if a racist dad, like a racist white dad, has a really hot daughter and the daughter only sleeps with black guys. That's what this is. It's like his dad passed this sweeping crime bill, locking people up for having crack. It's almost like a political statement. It's almost like Hunter's making a political statement. In a way, he's saying, fuck you, Dad, for doing this. And I will sacrifice my own life to show the people your hypocrisy. You could say that this might make the righteousness go up even. But let's continue because there's so many things to talk about here. Let's move on to the next thing. We'll calculate the righteousness at the end. Well, let's move on to the next thing.
According to court documents filed in June, federal prosecutors in Delaware say Hunter Biden received more than $1.5 million in annual income in both 2017 and 2018, and failed to pay taxes on it despite owing more than $100,000 each year.
My God. You make a $1.5 million off of these bullshit jobs that your dad gets you. You can't pay $100,000. You can't pay $100,000 on $1.5 million. It's not in Canada. It would be 50%. In America, it would be 30%. $100,000 on $1.5 million. It's not even 6%. Just pay it, baby. This is what actually, like, as a father, if I was the father, and I am a father of my YouTube channel, but if I was his father, I would let him go if it was just crack and hookers. But you can't pay $100,000, man, on $1.5 million a year you're making. You can't pay $100,000 in taxes. Your dad's the president. Just pretend you care about the country. Just pretend it.
Public would hear all the details about his escapades of using millions of dollars for fancy parties, for women, for drugs, and not for his taxes.
But this is actually common in the taxes and also like the women that he's gotten pregnant, his first wife and the sex worker. I think her name's Dallas. Got her pregnant allegedly, and just refuses to acknowledge the son and refuses to pay any child support for that. Refuses to pay child support to the first wife. This is just not righteous, people. But anyway, let's go on to the third point because there's so many things to talk about here.
Hunter Biden was found guilty of 3 federal gun charges, the first time in history that the son of a sitting president has ever been convicted of a felony. President Biden said he respects the verdict and will not pardon his son. But
lying on the gun application, I'm going to allow it. I'm going to allow it. I don't think it's going to make much of a dent here in the righteousness. I'm going to allow it. There's just so much worse things, really. You know what I mean? Lying on the form to get the gun, it's like, who cares? This next thing, though, I think could be extremely unrighteous. I mean, we're talking about possibly starting a war, possibly fueling corruption in another country now, too. So let's take a look at this.
In 2014, Hunter Biden was paid $50,000 per month to sit on the board of Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company run by an oligarch seeking closer ties to Washington.
At the time, his father is vice president. He also has Ukraine as a part of his portfolio. He's working on this campaign to sort of help Ukraine root out corruption. So that ends up presenting some qualms for people in the administration and then ends up presenting a lot more problems for Hunter Biden down the line.
Did you and your father ever discuss Ukraine?
No. As I said, the only time was after a news account, and it wasn't a discussion in any way. There's no but to this, no.
You know, and what makes it also shady is the 11-year sweeping pardon. You know, it's like, let's take a look at this. Jon Stewart reaction is really good.
The pardon sweeping, covering offenses that Hunter Biden, quote, has committed or may have committed or taken part in over the past 11 years.
Years is a very specific and not rounded amount of time. So, Hunter, I'll give you a pardon Well, a few years, 5 years, 10 years. It needs to be 11.
The 11-year thing combined with that's when he started working in Ukraine, it looks shady to me. The proof isn't there. A lot of people can say you don't have the proof. Okay, the proof isn't there, but it doesn't look good. Let's just say that. Doesn't look good in the community. And speaking of the community, really the biggest damage done here is to the Democratic Party and to Democrats because they all defended him so hard. And now we're going to play my favorite of all the clips here is the back and forth montage clips. Let's take a look at, let's do 3.
People are wondering, should Biden pardon his son, Hunter, or does that make him an even bigger target for you-know-who coming in? It's an interesting question, which I pose to you all.
Flashback.
Not only is Hunter Biden on trial, showing that no one is above the law.
No one.
President Biden has indicated if he is convicted, he will not pardon him.
No.
He will not pardon him. Can you imagine being married to someone like this? It makes me, feel like that. And I know some guys who are married to women like this, and they always talk about how much they love their kids, actually. They're always like, the kids, it's okay because the kids make it worth it. So that's the flip. This is from The View. Is it The View or is it the Queens of Flip-Flopistan? That's what you're going to be thinking after this next clip, because we just saw the flip. Let's see the flop. Let's play the clip.
Biden had a change of heart, granting his son a full pardon on tax evasion and federal gun charges. So it is a president's prerogative. People can say, why are you doing that? But that's what presidents do every time. They do it every time they pardon somebody. So I'm not sure why the pearl clutching is happening now, except that that's what folks want to do. But it seems kind of foolish. You kind of knew he was going to do it, given all that's happened, but maybe I'm just kooky.
Pleased with the hypocritical pearl clutching.
Here's another Queen of Flip-Flopistan. I'm going to play the flop first, then I'll do the flip. Sorry, I'll do the flip first, then the flop. I'm going to play this one in reverse order is what I'm saying. This is what happened now.
That President Biden is expected to pardon his son, Hunter Biden. Fast and furious, what do you make of this new news?
I just heard it. I have to process it. I don't have a take. I'm sorry.
Anyone, Michelle, Miriam.
I don't have a take. I'm sorry. Why doesn't she have a take? Why is it so hard to just say what your opinion is on this? Why can't you just say, this is my opinion? Well, let's go to the the flop. Let's go to the original and see what she said before.
And remember, part of Trumpism's dangerousness is that it tears down institutions, important institutions of our democracy. So there is an opportunity here for Biden to say, the jury found him guilty. This is how it's supposed to work. Period, paragraph, end of story.
Period, end of paragraph, end of story, end of chapter. End of chapter. Listen, there's a million of these videos you can watch. It's all over the internet. There's so much hypocrisy here. At the end of the day, this is the problem with joining any political party, is that you're basically brainwashing yourself to go into the party. You have to toe the line. You have to agree with certain things. And you see it in political figures, but I even see it with my friends. They just feel like they have to defend stupid shit that the Democrats are doing. And it's people actually think they're being responsible. Well, I'm here to tell you that you are not being responsible and you're not necessarily being righteous. When you join a political party and just, agree with everything lockstep, you're brainwashing yourself, basically. And in the end, you're setting yourself up for disaster, for something like this, where you end up looking like an idiot because you defended these monsters. And so, if you really want to be responsible and be into politics and you really want to be responsible, don't pick a team. These people will tell you that by not picking a team, you're being irresponsible. They'll say, pick a team and then, make sure figure out who's right and who's wrong, pick the team that's right, and then, defend that team at all costs. I would say that the more righteous thing to do is do not pick a team and always hold them accountable. By supporting one side like this, you're basically giving them a free pass. And that's irresponsible. You think it's responsible, it's actually irresponsible. And irrighteous. The really responsible thing to do is not let yourself get brainwashed. use your brain, make each decision logically so that you can continuously hold your politicians accountable. That's the actual responsible thing to do. Anyway, there's a million clips like this we can go through. Let's get on to the righteousness calculation, shall we? Let's just enter all this data into the righteousness calculator, see what the numbers are. Ding 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 calculating calculating ding 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 calculating ding 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 calculating ding 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 calculation complete. Still in the positive. And I think the reason why he's still in the positive, even though, you know, all the terrible things that we said are associated with this case, because ultimately this is, whether he did it on purpose or not, this is ultimately a great political statement about drug laws in America. The fact that if you're a regular person on the street and you do crack, you're going to jail for 25 years, as Joe Biden said, but his son gets to get away with it. This is a great political statement that he's making inadvertently. Inadvertently, he has made a great, beautiful political statement, and so I think that kept his righteousness above the 0 mark. That's it for our analysis today. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, support this digital ashram. We are the only YouTube ashram with a righteousness calculator. I paid good money for this thing, so make sure you go in the comments. Let me know if there's anyone else whose righteousness you want me to calculate. We'll calculate it on a future episode. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.